we are commanded to be brave. It's a mitzvah. You were given these precious few decades by whatever you believe in, the ether, the goddess above, whatever you call it, I don't care. And what a miracle we all are, from the very chance of our existence to our continued survival. So I think we have a duty to be brave as a sort of thank you for all the dice rolls that came out our way to make us here. And then also it's more interesting. It's boring if you're not brave. Don't be boring. It's lame.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Amy? Welcome to the podcast. I am so honored to have you here today and to get to know you a little bit. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, it's so good to see you.
Yes,
And
so
bye.
good. I feel like we have so much to dive into today. I also, right before we hopped on, you were talking, you were like, I could talk forever. I'm a chatterbox. And I'm like, perfect. Yes, that's exactly why I wanted you on the podcast here today, to get to know you a little bit more. But let's just jump right in. A question that I've been loving asking my guests lately is, when do you feel most beautiful?
That's so nice. When I am with people I love, and that can be friends or family, can be some of the either work or avocations I have. I guess, yeah, when I feel alive, and I probably don't look the most beautiful, but maybe part of the beauty is that that's actually not the focus. I think nothing shines on a face like love, right? And I mean all forms of it, not just the traditional, like a guy or something, which is great too. But yeah, love, like looking at, dogs running in a park or being around my nieces and nephews, and yeah, when I'm around love.
Yeah, I love that answer. I think it's interesting that I've asked a few people this question now, and that's been a common theme is how we feel when we're in connection with others, or like when we're feeling loved or we're experiencing love, like that's when we feel beautiful. And I feel like that's so cool it seems like a question that could be like, oh, just about you, but so much of it I think is when we see it reflected back on us, like other people. I think that's really cool.
Sure. I mean, none of us are an island, right? I mean, physical, traditional beauty, yeah, probably after like a really good hydrofacial or something, maybe.
Yeah.
Like hair and makeup has put, like for modeling, right, over the 1,000 years that I've modeled, yes, I don't have them in now, but like hair extensions and fake lashes, all, I guess you look traditionally beautiful, but I don't think that stuff's necessarily nearly as pretty as a casting director a long time ago in Los Angeles told me, you people look better when they're interested than when they're trying to be interesting. Now, he's talking about acting, like, i.e., when you get the focus, what you just said, off yourself. Not only is it great for your mind, right? It's a great quell to like depression, narcissism, anxiety, is to think about others instead of oneself. But yeah, it literally changes your face because you are interested in whatever it is you're with. And that does tend to make, I think, but I suppose the semantics are, it depends on what you think of as beauty. Again, in fitness modeling, it would just be like, be as dehydrated as possible with lots of bronzer on, which is fine. If you're doing the cover of Muscle and Fitness, as I did, the definition of beauty is hungry and shredded, which is cool, I guess. Not really.
Hungry and shredded. Yeah.
I haven't done one in about 3 years, but yeah, it's like you put that beef jerky tanner on. I don't know. It's convention.
Oh yeah. It's a look. It's a certain look for sure. And yeah, there's definitely, I agree with you. There are the different standards, but I love that quote about interested instead of trying to be interesting. And to me, it makes sense because when you're interested, you're being more selfless, right? You're intrigued in what's outside of you, what maybe the person that's talking or whatever you're saying in front of you. When you're trying to be interesting, we humans can tell that. You can tell when you're trying to put on a facade or trying to be something that maybe, you're trying to cover something up, right? Like that's obvious. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with being like polite at a cocktail party and pulling your like 2 or 3 stories out of your back pocket that you know always do well. That's fine. But for sure, like I think being Mihai Csikszentmihalyi wrote this great book, one of these airport books. It's an easy read, but it's called like The Zone or something. I'm going to get it wrong. But anyways, talking about what happens to the mind when you are in that meditative state of being interested in something, your work, your hobby, your family, gardening, things that you get, like athletics might be, is like that. You get really meditative, and yeah, something different happens to your mind that does for sure show up on the face. When we are in a zone of being interested, yeah, I think that is beautiful. If you, yeah, and for me, I don't know about your partner, or like your past partners, but like sometimes beautiful people, like I once dated a male model who was a garbage person. He looked great naked, no regrets. It was fun, but he wasn't that nice of a person. And after a while, I actually didn't see him as beautiful as I knew he genetically was. Right? I didn't see it anymore. And yeah, he was perfect, face, body, whatever. And then conversely, I was very in love for many years once with somebody who was by no means a supermodel, but he was so funny and brilliant and great that he seemed like hotter, more beautiful than you would think at just if you just looked at a picture, right?
Totally. Yeah, 100%. I definitely like this sounds horrible, but when I look back at some of my exes, I'm like, you're I'm like, now I look up like you were not attractive. But in the moment, I was in love. I'm like, you're funny, you're kind, you're this, whatever, right? And so like there was this kind of beauty that I would see in the person. And I agreed, it's so much of it is perception and your personality and the way you show up in the world. That like bleeds into everything else. Like that's honestly more important. I think so much more important.
Did you go, so you didn't just go for like a super hot guy? Like over, like, I didn't.
No, I not
Like,
really. Honestly, like my husband now is definitely the hottest man I've ever been with, and so I'm lucky. Like I'm like, girl, okay, I married the hottest man I've ever been with, and I still think he's a total hottie. So like that is such a win. And I'm not saying like no hate to my exes. It's not like they were these horrible looking men, but I definitely am not like, oh, no supermodels. Definitely no supermodels in my past.
I like, sometimes when they're too hot, it makes you crazy though. That's like dangerous. I mean, your
Yeah.
man is clearly a good man. You married him, but like if they're hot and not good, that can like ruin your life.
100%. Yeah, and I also think that you have to have there's like a being hot without knowing you're hot. There's something to that. Well, it's like I don't think my husband doesn't think he's hot, but he's definitely not like a person who like tries really hard. Like the dude wears t-shirts and jeans every single day of his life, and that's just like that's his uniform, you know? And so that's
With his looks, like it's not, he's
yeah.
not all, that's cool. That's,
Exactly. And so to me, that's really attractive as well, where it's like you're not like you're just naturally a good looking person because, again, I guess also how he shows up in the world. That's hot to me. I'm like, you're not trying so hard. You're just being yourself. And, there you go.
I don't happen to think youth is better looking, but most people do. Most people like tighter skin and thicker hair, and that's fine. But if you assume that youthful traits are better looking, then we all lose it. We all fade. Like everybody's the showroom model when you're like 18 because like you're trying to mate and make babies and get married and all these things. And like, but when you get older, I'm over 40 now, and like nobody looks perfect naked. You get
No.
scars and bruises and sags and things. But I'll tell you, like, first of all, candlelight. Everybody looks good by candlelight. That is God's gift to people. Yeah.
Perfect.
Once you drink-
The tip
Yeah.
of the episode. Remember that candlelight. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason it's associated with romance, right? Because like it makes everything look better.
Flickering, slightly orange lights. Great. It's like a diffuser. And
Yes.
and also the God's gift is that your eyes start being like less perfect as you age, so you can't really up close. You can't really tell. So it's great.
Yeah, there you go. That's the natural evolution of it, right? Like it helps everything on the way. Honestly,
Here's
okay.
I hooked up with a guy. He was a baseball player. This is like 1,000 years ago, and he was too hot and too sexy. And I have no idea what happened to him. But if he texted me tonight, I would probably get a flight to California. And like, because it was, I don't, it was like dangerous, like too, I don't like it. It was too much. I bet you he probably got married. And it was, I like didn't have any leverage. It was terrible.
Oh yeah, you like completely just like putty in his hands. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
Not
like it.
that's not fun. I want to be the hotter one.
I mean, there is that universe. I mean, that's very honest to say. Jokes aside, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't like if it's like if a guy's way too good in bed, like, oh my God, you go crazy. If he tries to like break up with you, you go full insane, right? If a guy really
Yeah.
makes you come, he can like eat all the food in your fridge and be late and like he can be it's terrible.
Yeah. I mean, why do you think I eloped 8 months after I met my husband? Like, there's a reason.
You
I'm like,
gotcha.
all right, you got me in
Yeah.
bed, and suddenly, let's get married. And I never thought I was going to get married in my whole life. And 8 months later, I'm like, yeah, courthouse, sure, absolutely. Sign my name to yours for the rest of
Yeah,
the
a
world.
good man who's good looking, who's good in the sack, like you're not gonna, you have to lock him down.
Lock him down.
If any guys listening to this, that's why you want to learn women's bodies and get good in bed because it
100%.
is so rare, it's so powerful. You could like slap her mom and she'd probably forgive you. I just don't do that. Like that's she'll elope 8 months. You heard her say it. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
exactly.
don't know. More guys don't want to like read and get really good in bed because it's powerful if
Also,
you
I
are.
feel like there's a lot of women too that feel uncomfy if their men have slept around a lot before they got together. For
Yeah.
me, I'm like, like I like to think of every single woman before me like laid out the red carpet for me because I'm like my man would not be who he is today. He would not be able to do what he does in the bedroom if it wouldn't have been for all the women in the past. So I'm like, thank you, all of you. Like you created this this specimen.
Write some thank you notes like this particular thank you. Like
Yes.
yeah, well, they probably miss him, or maybe he, like most, he got better. And you're right, the
Hmm.
practice runs like that idea of like we all want a virgin who somehow knows what they're doing. That's ridiculous.
Hmm.
How's that gonna? That's not possible. And
No,
nor does so.
definitely
There's
not my MO. No. I was raised like that. I was raised to be a virgin until marriage. Thank God I didn't do that. Now I can't even imagine marrying someone without ever having a sexual relationship with them. You're signing your life to them. That to me is insane. I
I think it's a
mean,
bad idea. Yeah, it's a
yes.
bad idea because it's look, it's not everything. There's all the other things of a relationship, but it's not nothing. And
It's
what if you
important.
find that you're fundamentally incompatible?
Yeah,
Like problems,
totally.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. That's I feel like it's a big part of the relationship. That's where so much of physical intimacy comes through. And so if you're just jumping in blind, I don't know. To me, I think that's so insane and makes no sense to me at all.
You gotta kick the tires. Was that difficult as a person who's lived most of my adult life in a stigmatized world, as we'll get into, be deciding to be different than what you were raised? Was that difficult, or did you just not care? You were like, I'm gonna do me.
Well, I mean, like for a long time there was shame associated with it until I kind of made the choice to leave the church. And then it was like, fuck it. I'm like that was my mentality was like I remember I broke up with my ex-fiance, which was like the catalyst to me leaving the church. And after we broke up, my first thought was like, next man I'm with, like I'm having sex. That's like it was I had already decided I'm like, I am not living like this anymore. And so yeah, once I had made the choice, then it didn't feel shameful. To me, it made like so much more sense and felt so freeing to actually have that choice instead of like living under this umbrella of like, don't be this way, don't have desire, don't enjoy your body, all these things that just didn't make any sense to me. And so as soon as I rejected that, it was like so much freedom. Yeah.
It's a revolutionary act to live the way that you want in the face of pressure from family, neighborhood, church,
Hmm.
culture. It's I know people who've left various religions to be free, and they have their own relationships with spirituality.
Hmm.
They're not necessarily some godless heathen, or maybe they are, whatever. But they it is so brave to not live silently and and suppressed for
Hmm.
for the comfort of others, right?
Totally. And I think it actually ends up giving permission to others also to do that. And so I think there's that ripple effect, which is powerful. But I mean, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you today, is because I feel like you've lived a very unconventional life, as we know, and a life that maybe is stigmatized or is not viewed as traditional, right? So I would love for you to go into a little bit of your story, who you are, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so yeah, segue. Speaking of stigma, I don't know how untraditional or traditional it is because I live in a world that's traditionally been closeted, so we don't really have any good data. I would argue so in addition to modeling and other things I've done between college, grad school, whatever, the thing that's sort of the most interesting to the public, high people, is that I have been a high-end companion. I've been, some people call it a sex worker, escort, companion, sugar baby. There's lots of words for it. But in the real world, not OnlyFans, not stripping. I've never done that. I don't think I can dance well enough to strip. I would have fallen down. I've never. They're beautiful. I wish I could. But
Take skills, honestly. The shit they're doing, whew.
beautiful, athletic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I never did porn because I'm too afraid of an audience. I like a one-on-one thing like this. And I'm a pretty romantic person. I like dating and I like rich guys. They're fun. They're brilliant. It's not even the money. It's like I like people who've done something with life, and sometimes that comes with some financial success depending upon what path you pick. But I like people who do stuff with their life even if it doesn't pay. I'm a professor's kid. I like people who are creative. So anyway, that's what I did, and I'm not sorry, but it definitely had positives and negatives. I had a lot of fun, saw the world, met some amazing people, many of whom I'm still friends with. Had some sex, had some fun. It was great. But also some very bad things. Some of the underbelly of a criminalized, utterly deregulated industry is nothing short of horrific and abusive. And in avoiding that and, not wanting to be coerced or controlled by people, some very difficult things happened over the years. So it's been a mixed bag. But much like you, I just really wanted more freedom that was traditionally afforded to women of my generation. I'm in my late 40s, and when I was born, women weren't allowed a credit card or a home loan without a male cosigner. When I was born, the only sort of small potatoes part-time jobs for women, secretary, teacher, none of them even paid enough for you to live independently. If you didn't get a man and marry him, you were probably going to live with your parents the rest of your life or be condemned to poverty, I guess. So, going to school in the 90s, stuff started to be available. There started to be women making money and having true freedom, but not much. I mean, it's still not much, and it's only in a few places on Earth. And so I went kind of far afield and chased freedom. And yes, part of it was that I wanted to date more people. I had one boyfriend only before I became an escort, and there was part of me that was like, I want to date a few other guys. I didn't plan on being so many as it ended up being. but I did kind of want to date around. I did. While I finished college and grad school. So I also feel like, and then the reason I can speak to you, unlike most of the millions of people who've done or do what I do, is that I was outed. So what's done is done. It's cost me a ton in life, housing, banking, relationships, friends, family, but I have to make lemonade with what has happened. I've been outed. So it makes people very uncomfortable, but also you find out who really loves you. So I figured at least I would try in the sunset part of my career, if you will, to humanize one of millions of us, because I have seen that when people are forced to realize at least that we're human, whether you like this industry or not, and I will grant people that it is very problematic industry, for sure it is. But when you realize that there are human beings in it that are worthy of respect and have feelings and their heart beats just like you, then it is a little bit harder to other them and think that they should just die in a ditch. The dead hooker joke, right? Which is not funny. So hence being out, which I think also, if I had to say, embracing being outed is a bit defiant for me. I was outed by somebody who hated me, and there is a part of me that wants to take that back and say, okay, fine. You
Can you
tried
go
to,
into that? When you, like, what do you mean by outed? And what
when
was that?
it sucked. When I first did this, I was in graduate school, and obviously I was in the closet, and it was better. Nobody knew, and yeah, it was better. My family had less shame and less fear for my, choices, and yeah, for sure, I had to lie, but it was better. I would have liked it to stay that way. And what happened, and your viewers or listeners can Google this. A person named David Elms. If you Google David Elms murder, you can read all about it. And the woman he tried to murder that you'll read about, that's me. He owned a site called theeroticreview.com, which was kind of an online pimping. The way he would make his money is that he would have clients write reviews or even fake ones, honestly, and he would charge memberships to read them, and then he would promise you that you would get more business, like Yelp for sex workers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually a very good idea, but the problem was that he was also coercing and controlling people, and he was a actual crackhead, collected automatic weapons, was a full thug. I mean, the site itself was not the problem. It was him that was the problem. And apparently he wanted control of me. I don't know why. Bad luck. I happened to live in Los Angeles, and so did he. I suspect if I had lived thousands of miles away, maybe he would have never bothered me. But anyway, he got obsessed with me, and he said, I want you to tell the few gentlemen you date to join my site, write these reviews. I'll charge people money to read them, and you'll be more successful. And I laughed and told him to go fuck himself. I don't want to, fuck off. So I'm not going to get involved with some dude. I don't know who you are. Goodbye. And also, these reviews were like blatant sex for money, which is not legal.
Mm-hmm.
I like sex and I like money, but like, you can't just say, like, I will do this to your body for money. That's not in my country. That is not allowed. Different discussion of whether it should be or not, but the fact of the matter is, it is not. So, for like that reason, and because he was being very coercive, I told him to go to hell, and I didn't realize how mad that would make him, that a woman would not let him use me for money. The thing about pimps is they view women as inventory. They don't view us as human beings. And in fact, a lot of men view women as vehicles to produce their children, to do free labor at home, take care of their elderly, take care of them. There unfortunately is a cohort of men who view women only as a machine to get things done that they need. And if you won't do that, they get very angry. And pimps are kind of the ultimate manifestation of that, is that women are just to make me money and use up, and, you know. So when I refused, he got madder and madder over the years, and I was not part of this site. And I guess behind the scenes, he was angrier every year. And what he did was he bought my birth name, the name on my passport and birth certificate, which is not Amy Taylor. And he built a copy of my website that I've used for modeling for years. And on it, he outed my parents and me and my address and everything. And then he sent copies of it all over the place. And I lost my job. My parents didn't talk to me for almost 3 years, 2.5 years. I got I got evicted. And the boyfriend I was dating, who did know I was gearing up to retire, because we had actually accidentally gotten pregnant, but we were going to make the best of it. So I had actually quit for like 9 months. I hadn't actually seen anybody. I just kept my website up to like monetize it because I had a pay site. And why not, right? I got all these photos, might as well get paid for them. So, Murphy's Law. I thought I was on my way out, and I was gonna move to Seattle with this guy because of his job, and try to have the kid. And who knows if we would have made it or not? Probably would have ended up divorced. But hey, and instead I miscarried my unborn son, and I hope I meet him someday. He was 17 weeks, and I don't know, stress or what happened, but it didn't make it. And so I was consumed with getting justice. So I didn't know who had built this site that outed me, because the registration was private, and the only way you can uncover private registration on an internet website is a subpoena or a police report. So I called my lawyers, and we did both, knowing that it might cause me trouble, but I didn't care. I had nothing to lose, basically, right? I had no job, no boyfriend, no baby, no parents, nothing. So I moved out of my home. I moved to a rented apartment without, it was a pilot apartment. I went and flew because I'm also a flight instructor in another state, and my name wasn't on the lease. So I was hoping whoever was after me, I actually thought maybe it was a woman. I didn't know who it was. And when we uncovered the registration, it said David Elms. It was him. So, like an idiot, I remember I was in the grocery store. I was buying salad, and I called him, which my lawyers yelled at me later for doing. And I said, I know you did this to me." And he lied. He said, "No, I didn't. But if you come to my house and sleep with me, I'll get who I know who did it, and I'll get them to take it down." This dude was still trying to fuck me.
Yeah, he's like obsessed with you.
Crazy, crazy. And why? Like, what is just another body? Relax, dude. You can have everybody just fuck off. It's just one more pussy. It's not going to be that different than all the other pussies, you weirdo.
For real though, honestly.
It's the power, right? When you say
It
no
is
to
the
a
power because you said no, exactly. So now all of a sudden he's obsessed with
on the
having you.
street pimps call they call getting a pimp choosing up. The woman has to choose up what pimp she will obey, and if you don't choose up, they call you a renegade. Like if you want to be on your own. This is on the street stuff, streetwalkers. And if you're a renegade, they kill you because they won't allow a woman to tell other women that she does not have to have a pimp, right? So they will kill on the street. They kill renegades. And that's kind of what he probably thought of me. She won't obey. She won't do what I want. I'm going to destroy her. So I told him as I was buying salad when he was told, I said, "I'm going to destroy you." And I didn't mean like anything illegal. I meant I'm going to get this site taken down and I'm going to sue you because it's still defamation and slander, right? You're causing harm and it's legally actionable and I'm going to come after you. And which I did. I sued him. It's a good idea to sue a crackhead because they don't show up to their court dates. So it's really easy to win. So yeah, so I won a bunch of money that he still owes me. I didn't give a shit about them. It was like 80 grand. I don't care about that. But, he could have it. But, I won in court. It took a while because a couple judges tried to throw it out thinking he was a garbage person, but so was I. But we finally found a judge who was basically pro sex worker and said, even if you have done sex work, you don't deserve this, which is correct. You know, I didn't have my life ruined. So we got it shut down, cobbled together what I could for a job and moved back to California. And, you know, family reached out because they love me. They don't like what I did. Of course, my sister said, "Did you ever think about us? Like, what if he came to hurt us to get to you?" And the truth is I had not thought about that. I had not. You're young and wild and naive, and thank God he didn't do that to her or her children. But my family, in spite of my choices, they love me, which is it's a grace I don't deserve and I can never repay. But he tried to take my family away and he failed. He did not. We are still close and they love me. So I got that shut down and I sued him and I won. And when I won, he tried to murder me. The district attorney in Phoenix, I was there that night. I was coming home from the airport, some flying stuff I was doing. And my lawyer and her were on the phone. He said, "Can you pull over?" I said, "What's going on now?" And he said, "Yeah, David Elms is driving to Phoenix tonight to murder you." I was like, "Super. What do I do?" So they intercepted him because they wanted to arrest him for some other stuff he was doing. He was trafficking women and buying guns and doing a bunch of bad stuff. So they put him in jail for 5.5 years. And he's out. And he uses a different last name now to try to hide from his past. And apparently he's behaving relatively. I think cleaned himself up. I mean, the guy has a daughter. So yeah, I had a Russian client who wanted to have him murdered in jail for me, and I had to tell the Russian, "No, this is not Moscow. We don't do this in America." I don't do this. Oh, that's insane. Maybe he was joking. He was Russian. You can't tell. Very dry senses of humor. But this David Elms person is how I got outed, and he has since not hurt me, and I hope that stays. Every year it becomes more distant than the past. There's certainly trauma associated with what he did to me. But I will continue to work on trying to forgive. And, you know, being out, at least the upside of that is I don't have to lie. And it was a very serious test of how I felt about the choices I make. And the truth is, even as complicated a choice it is, I am not sorry. I'm okay. The actual gentlemen I dated, many of them there were only a handful, and most of them you date for years. It's actually fairly boring. It's just dating. It's not that big of a deal, like people say, certainly at the high end. There's no, I was never, no drugs, no wildness, no nonsense. It's just dating, is dinners and dating and some vacations. So I'm not going to apologize for my choices simply because the world doesn't understand my world. I know why they don't understand. It's because we're in the closet. I get that. And that's because our clients don't want us talking about them, which is fair. These podcasts terrify my clients. They're always only worried about their own privacy, which is hilarious to me. I'm not here to talk about them. But I think the upside of being outed is that I really want, if I could do anything tiny to make this world slightly better for the ones that will come up after me, because they always will. There's always going to be rogue young people who choose this. Would it be better if they didn't? Yeah, maybe. But we can talk about the world we wish was, or we can talk about the world that actually is, right? And I know that people like David Elms, they flourish in this world because of criminalization, right? If it was a legitimate industry with legitimate rights, David Elms of the world would not get leveraged. He did what he did because he thought I would never go to the authorities about him, because most sex workers would not. They would be too afraid. My case, when I sued him, was tossed out by 2 judges. It's only because I'm such an insane, pushy bitch that I won. Well, I'm too stupid to give up, I guess. But it did cost a lot. So in many ways, so bad people in my industry are able to do what they do to sex workers because there is no legal framework of rights and respect and labor laws and any kind of regulation that protect the workers. There's nothing, right? So it's a free-for-all, which is full of a lot of mishigas, right? Which is not great. So I decided if I could step out of the closet, then maybe people would start to think otherwise. And people smarter and more brilliant than me have been fighting for sex worker rights for millennia. I worry, at least in America, we're turning the opposite direction away from it, but I'd love to be wrong. New Zealand has done great things. Belgium has done, in Belgium, they can sue their clients if they don't pay them. Like in New Zealand, they get like healthcare benefits. Like it's a real job.
Wow.
Canada does better. So we have models of how this complicated industry can be treated better. And my small story of David Elms happens every single day in my country because of the legal status of sex workers. It's untenable to me because it's an unnecessary cause of death to the most vulnerable people among us, the young and the poor, right? That's mostly who's in sex work, is young, poor people, right? And they should be able to survive it because they become not poor and not young. They become, all my retired girlfriends are like wives and moms and lawyers and doctors and business owners and yogis, and they're all fine. They're fine. And more of that should be allowed, right? But if they don't make it through because some psychotic pimp comes after them, then you destroy possibility, right? It's like a black hole. And destroying possibility is never what we should legislate or chase. That's never the right path, right?
I know. I totally hear what you're saying. Like that, because it is so stigmatized, it's so illegal, then there is no protection for these people. It's mostly women, right? No protection for them who are a lot of times feel like maybe there's not a better choice. Like this is their best choice. This is how they can pay for school even, or do, regular human things that we're all just trying to do. It's not like they're out here trying to like destroy the world or something, right? Like, and yet because of that, it's like you hear so much of like crimes that happen against sex workers, or even murder, things like you were saying, like people losing their lives, and yet like there's like this idea of like, well, they kind of asked for it. And I feel like that absolutely disgusts me, that idea of the choice that someone has made, which you have no idea if you wouldn't make that choice if you didn't have that exact circumstance that person had, right?
Yep.
Because of the choice they made, suddenly their living, breathing humanness is no longer as valuable. And that just, I think that's so disgusting.
Yeah, well, we have special feelings about sex, right? We forgive drug dealers, we forgive all kinds of things, but sex is kind of a very special one for us. And I get it. It makes people, it's pretty important. Although we have birth control and things, it doesn't make people as much as it used to. But yeah, I think slutty women we don't like, even if they're slutty for free. We've never liked them, right? They, I do find it a bit odd. Like I live in Manhattan in New York City, and you have these powerhouse young women. They're your age and gorgeous, and they make $1 million a year in some finance job, and they run around a lot. They're like men. They're bachelorettes, and they have a lot of sex with a lot of people on the old Hinge and Tinder. And just because nobody's paying them, I don't think anybody cares nearly as much. Uh, I mean, we've never liked infidelity as a sort of special case. I get it that sometimes sex workers are participating in infidelity, which is threatening to
But
the
they can't
family.
be blamed for that because
And it would
that's not,
exist. Yeah,
they're
it
not
would
the ones
exist.
married. That's
Well,
what,
and if you could magically vanish sex workers, you would not magically vanish cheating, right? Because
no.
the people would just cheat with the neighbor or the secretary or the babysitter, or whoever coworker. And also, men cheat, women cheat too. We're just better liars. But just kidding, jokes. People don't at me. Yeah, I mean the the whole there when you get outed as a sex worker, people think you're sort of unworthy on many levels. My own sister asked me if I actually had gone to college where I went to college. I went to UC Berkeley. And she said, "Did you really go to Berkeley?" I was like, you came to visit me in my sorority house. Like, do you think they just let people live there if you're not a student? You can't. Like, but I understand that I had lied and now she doesn't know what's true, right? That's fair. It kind of, but the logistical problems for me are more important. Things like that if we tell the truth to our healthcare provider, we lose insurance, right? If you tell the truth to your landlord, you get evicted. The rejection from family, friends, mainstream society, yeah, you can navigate that with a lot of therapy and some strength, and it's terrible. But we have our communities. A sex worker I know in Scotland has built this incredible online community. She's really trying because she understands how badly it affects mental health to be isolated and stigmatized. But the it takes such immense emotional strength to reject societal shame, much like when you left the church. It's such a to stand firm in your belief that your choices are relatively okay for you, at least at that moment in time. To your point, you might need to pay for school. You might many sex workers are single mothers. They can make what a plastic surgeon makes working 8 hours a week, and now their kids in private school. Again, not promoting it. Maybe another choice would be better, but they've made this choice because they don't probably have another one available to them, spending as few hours at work, making as much money so they can be with their kids. It's a choice, yeah? And 99% of sex workers don't do it forever. Most people aren't weirdos like me. Most people do it for 6 months. They buy a car, pay off a bill, and then they move on. And they should be able to. They shouldn't be branded with a scarlet letter forever because of a temporary choice. That's needless. That's needless stigma. We have chapters in our lives, right? You're not the same person you were at 16, right? I'm not.
No,
And you
not at
and
all.
you won't be when you're a 75-year-old. You'll be very cute little old lady. Like I'll be on the Upper East Side with like a bunch of little dogs just talking to myself and no. Maybe I'll have like early dementia and I'll be talking about all the sex I had and no one will believe me. They'll be like, "Get to bed, Grandma." I'll be like, "This time I was in Vegas with a billionaire." It won't be bad. It'll be real bad.
Yeah,
But
and hilarious though.
I mean, my grandma, my mom's mom, she had to go under for a benign breast lump removal. Thank God it was not cancerous. But my mom was with her, and my mom told me that as she went under anesthesia, she told the nurse, "Don't take too much because I'm an exotic dancer."
Oh,
I asked my mom, like, does grandma have a secret? Like, I don't think she was. She was an Air Force wife. I don't think she was a stripper, but maybe
yeah,
did she want to
yeah.
be? Is that her like fantasy that she had been an exotic? I love it. She's
I
passed
love
away
it.
now. She was a
When
feisty
my
one.
grandma got dementia, she was always the sweetest, calmest woman all the time. And then she got dementia and suddenly she started cursing like a sailor and like you started seeing another side of her. Like as a child, I'm like, who is this? But I kind of thought it was funny and cool to see another side of her. And yeah, I mean, she definitely fully
We let
let
it.
her fire out. Yeah.
Yeah, she probably wanted to, especially
Yeah.
women of that generation. They were never allowed. Good for. I'm glad she got it out.
That's what I said. I mean, she was 90, so she was born in 19, I think 1920, in the 1920s. And so I'm like, woman, yes, you've been living a long life. Like, let it out.
Yep. Well, and women have always found a way. Ask our grandmothers why they planted azaleas and nightshades and lilies of the valley. They knew. Yeah, they knew. But yeah, women have always had our ways, and we will always survive. And it
Mhm.
actually makes us more interesting people that we have to find other ways of surviving besides brute force strength. I think in biology they
Totally.
call it low power strategy. The creature with less actual physical power has to come up with other ways to survive that are often more fascinating. So that said,
And require more intelligence.
absolutely. I mean, right? Shiftiness, shadiness. You see it in animals a lot, and you see it in babies. They find very interesting ways of manipulating and getting what they want from their parents, even though they can't speak yet. The sound of the cries, and I mean, who's really in charge? These kids are training us when you have a baby. They know. It's very
Yes,
nice.
exactly.
That's it. Struggling for survival. I mean, yeah, like public visibility, it's cost me a lot, and harassment, and sometimes friends don't want to be near you, and certainly job discrimination. I would never be allowed to work around children or anything with my past, but what's done is done. Obviously, for 99% of us, balancing the need for personal safety versus how much can they live their truth and maybe speak out. Most of them choose not to speak out, and that is their choice. That's the choice best for them. And I probably, had I not been outed, I probably would have continued with that way. Honestly, it was easier in some ways. But it becomes a mental and strategic challenge that adds just so much weight to the way that you have to think every day just to navigate the world. And yeah, I get frustrated with the misinformation, but we're also not a monolith, right? I know tens of thousands of other sex workers, and we don't all agree and want the same things, much like any other industry. We, but oddly, this particular industry, very few people ever want to listen to us when we talk about what we need.
Yeah.
They write us off as a bunch of crazy bitches, and they make laws and they make rules without even consulting us, which you don't see that in other. My family's in politics in California, and like other industries are allowed to lobby and unionize and advocate for themselves, and we never are.
hmm
Uh,
Yeah.
they don't think
Yeah.
we themselves.
Yeah, it's really like what doesn't make any sense to me too about it is that so much of the blame gets put on the sex workers themselves instead of on the people that create the demand in the first place, right? Like there's like all this idea if they were to say, "Oh, I've hired someone before," they're not going to get in trouble. But then if they were to out that person, that maybe that person could get in trouble, and that doesn't make any sense to me because it's like it goes back to that same thing that somehow we like to blame the women, and I still don't understand that, like why it's so much easier I think for men to just point the finger at women as like, oh, you're the problem. And I think that's so much, you see that so much more in that industry.
Sure. Well, men congratulate each other for getting laid, and
Yeah.
women don't. That's because for them it takes work, and for us it's the easiest thing in the world, right? If you go outside, look in the way,
Yeah.
how beautiful you are, and you have a pulse, you could get sex 5,000 times a day if you wanted, and that's true. And it turns out it's true even if you're older. It's weird, super weird. There's guys who like middle-aged ladies. It turns out. But some of that is that men are rewarded for behaviors that we are the gender norms, right? They're not identical. I think also men will blame women no matter what you do. If you don't have enough sex, you're a prude. If you have too much, you're a slut. If you're married and a good mother, but you didn't go to the gym enough, you let yourself go. But if you went to the gym too much, then why are you wanting attention? Why do you want to be hot? You're a mom. You should not. If you when you realize as a woman that you will get blamed no matter what you do, you kind of decide, fuck it, I'm just going to do the best I can by the people I love, and the
Mm-hmm.
rest, because people are going to have opinions, right? I get 5,000 emails a day and many marriage proposals, many people telling me I should go die, and everything in between. Uh,
Yeah, I've seen some of
policy,
your posts. I love that you call them out.
well, only when they get real mean, and I do
Yeah.
switch the number. If it's a burner number, I'm not doxing. I only doxed somebody's real info once. He threatened my life, and that to me, I just want it out there because in case I do get murdered, at least there's some kind of trail. It doesn't help me,
Totally.
but it'll. But policy engagement, I think sometimes we're too mercurial for legislators to listen to us. We're entertainers. I'm a clown. I don't speak in a calm way that works well in the halls of
Mm-hmm.
Congress. We do have some women, Kristen D'Angelo in California, and a few others that are very good at public speaking, and they present in a way that's more palatable to very stately, classy, powerful people who are very uncomfortable around a bunch of whores. So, um, but then there's all the wilder ones that do petitions, and they have plenty, swap chapters, SWOP, Sex Workers Outreach Project. There's chapters everywhere in America, and Red Umbrella and other organizations in other countries that they are very strong women who navigate the legislative landscape, and again in places like New Zealand and Belgium, they've made great strides toward forcing the world to admit that we exist and have a right to.
Mm-hmm.
And truly, to your point about, I mean, the end demand model, this idea that maybe you could go after the guys and they would stop paying for sex. Yeah, that might be an
No.
ideal world. I don't see it happening.
No, I don't
If
either.
No, and they'll just shift to fucking your neighbor, or coworker, or, some girl from I mean, monogamy, and it's actually more complicated than that. Not every couple is monogamous. Not every
Mm-hmm.
client is married. Um, a lot of people are swingers. A lot of guys get a hall pass from the wife. I mean, what goes on behind closed doors in people's marriages is pretty unique to them.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have clients, for instance, who differently abled, and sex workers are the only access to intimacy they have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, not the cliche that it's just some jerk married guy cheating on his wife is not always the case at all.
Mm-hmm.
So in that instance where, some poor wife wishes he would not cheat and she's doing everything she can and her only sin was that maybe she got old and he's gross. Yeah, then that does exist. It does. So
Mm-hmm.
should she divorce him? I don't know. They got kids, they got houses, they got a history together. Yeah, these things are very complicated, right? My sister
Mm-hmm.
came to me in New York and she's been married for 26 years, and we went to have a drink and some guy tried to talk to her, and she didn't do anything, but she was very excited that she's like, I still got it. Like, she's a
Mm-hmm.
human. She totally loves her husband. Her husband's a cutie.
Mm-hmm.
She's completely loyal, but she was like, look at me. Like, and so she's not cheating.
100%.
She's not cheating, but she's a human being, right? She got hit on. She's alive, right? It's
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, attention and getting noticed, like, that's not cheating. I feel like that's a human thing to be like, oh, yeah, hell yeah. Someone
and
sees
even
me.
And even cheaters, I mean, the most difficult mental thing I've seen is that there are people who really love their spouse and also cheat on them. And it's not great. Sure, it's not great. Of course, it'd be better if they didn't. But there are things like people who are married to somebody who likes to have sex like once a month, and they
Mm-hmm.
like to have sex like 3 times a week. Now, should they divorce? Yeah, maybe, but they love them. They got kids. They got a life together. Also, sometimes the sex drive of one party changes and the other one's doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, a million things happen, and
Yeah.
it's sometimes a complicated.
Relationships are complicated. Yeah. And you can't blame that on, like, each person has to be responsible for their own choices, whatever that
Yeah,
looks like, you know?
yeah,
And like you were saying, there are some couples too that they're like, we allow some wiggle room here because there are certain things we like So because of this dynamic of our relationship, we're gonna turn our eyes away from the certain thing type of thing, you know? But I feel like there's no like, I don't think there's some like big issue that needs to be solved. It's like each person is just making their own choices and doing what they're trying to do their best, assuming that most are trying to do their best. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I think it just comes back to the individual.
I was in a 7 year relationship and I was trying to keep it spicy and thought I was being like the super sexy girlfriend trying to keep it. And so my a former sorority sister of mine, we're out of college by this time, and she and I, our boyfriends knew each other. We thought we'd try to arrange like some group kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't ask them. We all got together at their house, and she and I went into the bedroom and got into our like lingerie in our skivvies, and then we
Mm-hmm.
asked the two guys, boys, come on in here, and they came in from the living room and looked and realized what we were trying to get started, and we're like, yeah, no, like no, thank you. And so they went back out in the living room and continued to play video games, and we were just sitting there like, guess no thanks. But I was just
Yeah.
trying to. I was trying to not be boring. I don't even think I really wanted to do that, but I was trying to
Yeah.
do a thing and it was a colossal fail. So,
Mm-hmm.
you try
Hey,
things.
you tried though. You got to experiment. You're in a relationship. See what
Yeah.
works, see what doesn't, you know? And like, that's so funny though.
I don't want
They
to be
just want to
naked.
play video games instead.
He was like, I don't want to be naked near my college buddy. I'm good. So,
Yeah, yeah, I feel that. That's so funny.
people do all kinds of
Yeah.
things, right? I mean, all kinds of things. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah. Well,
very
this has
hard.
been.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I was just going to say that I think one of the hardest things in the world for any of us, including me, is to let others live in ways that we can't comprehend, right?
Mm.
I'll judge a bitch because I don't like her yoga pants in front of me at Starbucks, and she doesn't even know I'm there, right? Like we're dumb. We're all just crazy infants, and if we could just live and let live a little more, I think it would just be such a more beautiful world.
I agree. I agree. There's so much idea of I'm right, you're wrong,
Mm.
because it helps people feel to better about themselves. And I really
Mm.
think that that's the core root of so many of humanity's issues is like if we could just allow other people to make choices that are different than ours, even if we don't think it's right, like, you
Yeah.
know, permission for that. I think that's where
Actually, the best
peace
way to get
comes,
them, yes,
community, all that.
yes, it's the best way actually to get them to think about another path is actually kindness, right? Because they stay
Hmm.
open. So even if you want to help people find a better path, openness is still the way, right?
Yeah.
So, and in that
Hmm.
frame, thank you for giving time to humanizing somebody in a for sure problematic industry, because at least it's a provocative thing that your fans can think about, right?
100%.
I
Which
think
is why I'm so glad that you were willing to be on the podcast because I mean, I'm in the business of being human. Like I'm just trying to figure out my own shit every day and like I want to connect and see the humanity in each of us. And so I feel like that's what I'm trying to do with the podcast and in general. And so the more diversity and different types of people that we can have, the hopefully the more we can see we're not all that different. Like whatever choices you're like, I'm not that different from you. Like I'm not, we're still essentially at our core. So much of us we can connect with. And so, I am really glad you were willing to be with me today. I feel like I've had such a good conversation with you and I hope that anyone listening, maybe their mind gets opened a little bit or hopefully they just got to hear you and be like, wow, Amy's a cool chick. um,
it's a life so far. So yeah, take me with you down to the sunshine because it's freezing and I hate it here. So
yeah,
yeah, I envy your life choices in so many other ways
honestly.
as well. So it
Okay,
was,
well, to be fair, I live in Cusco, Peru, so I'm in the mountains, so it's not
oh
that warm. But
right.
we do get we're warmer than New York in the winter. So, I mean, coming out with me, please. I would love that. Like,
Oh
come
my
to
God.
Peru.
I love so beautiful. I love the life you're living. It's cool. Like
Yeah, I'm thankful. It's a cool life for sure. It's an adventure, which is the life I want to live. I want an adventure.
that's how
Um,
you stay a brave bitch, which is the best title for a podcast. It's you are
exactly. Amy,
you're
you are a
brilliant
brave bitch. That's why you're here.
for sure. With all that it
Yes.
costs, I'd still take it over any other life choice.
Hmm.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, this has been such a good conversation. I really don't want to wrap it up, but do you mind if I head into our rapid fire questions?
Let's do it.
Okay. First question is, if you could choose a superpower, what would it be?
I mean, it's gonna it's gonna be to heal sickness. To heal people.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
No one said that. You're the first person to say that. And I've been asking this for almost 30 episodes now. This is the first answer. That's a really good one. Okay. Next question is, what is your go-to comfort meal?
Oh, pasta,
Of
cheese,
course.
and carb, and
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
being whole, then it's like a cream sauce. And then I'm gonna feel like whole ass the next day, but it's gonna be worth it. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Pasta is definitely my comfort food as well. I feel like you can't lose. Especially if
No.
it's like a good Italian place. Oh my God, I just feel like a better person. Fatter, but a better person.
Well, it's like noodles, any carbs. It's gonna be
Yeah.
carbs.
Bread,
Yeah,
fries,
any
any of
bread.
that too. Yeah.
I'll just dig out the middle of a sourdough, like the hunk in the middle. Dude, it's the best.
Yes.
The best.
Yeah, so good. Okay, next question I have for you is, if you could recommend 3 books, movies, or podcasts, what would you recommend?
Hmm. Books. I like to be awe inspired, so I read books about science, even though my scientific knowledge is now 25 years obsolete, and I was never that good at like physics or astronomy or the really hard sciences. But I do very much enjoy like Brian Greene's stuff about string theory. Like Elegant Universe was his first really famous book. Or Neil deGrasse Tyson has written some that are very accessible for the layperson. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I wouldn't recommend any particular ones, but go look for Neil deGrasse Tyson's most recent 3 books because they're fun, they're accessible, and you will experience awe, which I think is a fun feeling to have
Yes.
in the universe. How small you are, how big it all is, but how much you are unique and you matter. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
That's cool.
any books about science.
Ah, I love that. Good answer. And I will put that all in the description below too, so if anyone's curious or forget the author names. And the last question I have for you is, why do you feel it's important to be brave?
We are commanded to be brave. It's a mitzvah. You were given these precious few decades by whatever you believe in, the ether, the goddess above, whatever you call it, I don't care. And what a miracle we all are, from the very chance of our existence to our continued survival, back up our family tree to the chances everybody made it to being you. You are commanded to continue to live with the bravery of your ancestors and the ether, the stardust that you are made of, because otherwise it would be a slap in the face to all the unbelievable coincidences and chances that came together to make you. So I think we have a duty to be brave as a sort of thank you for all the dice rolls that came out our way to make us here. And then also it's just more interesting. It's boring if you're not brave. Don't be boring. It's lame.
Yeah. That's a great answer. Awesome. So good. I know that I really enjoyed this conversation, but is there anything, this is your first opportunity to share how people can connect with you, or if there's anything else that you would like to share with my listeners?
Oh yeah, no, I'm shooting next week for some New York magazines. That stuff will be out within probably 4 to 6 weeks. So if I'm on Amy Taylor NYC, because that's where I live, on all the socials. So feel free to say hi or keep in touch on there. That stuff will be up. It's pretty pictures. They're nice to look at. It's modeling, and
Perfect.
and yeah. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, of course. Thanks so much. And so much love to you, Amy, and everything you're doing in the world, and the permission you're giving to others to speak about their life and just be themselves. I feel like I have so much respect and love for you. So, mwah.
Likewise, that was fun.
Yes, so good. Thank you so much for listening and watching this episode of the Brave Bitches podcast. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, share, review, all that good stuff. Also follow me on Instagram at Hannah Soul Marie or at Brave Bitches without the I for some behind the scenes look and clips from the episode. Again, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.